Today on Tech Talk, we're talking Facebook hacked again. We're also talking a little grain of sand or something found on a chip,
Teeny
right?
tiny hacks.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hacking up everywhere, just like your cat.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Glad you could stay with us.
Yep.
The
Be
temperature
prepared for all-
finally dropped, and I feel like fall, but I know pretty soon we'll be talking about technology for Christmas.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
You'll have to come back for
Yeah,
that
this
show.
is the October edition. November is usually our gift edition.
Gift. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of slides. We've got a lot of hacks.
You know, we haven't
And-
gotten through all the slides each
No,
show because we get
we-
talking about stuff, and I guess
Yeah.
that's part of the
That's the
show.
good part. Yeah, that's the good part. So.
One of the things that I bring to the show is that I look into the news and I look to see what are the biggest security problems. But what I've seen more and more is what's with this game that's being released, you know, Fallout
Yep.
76, you know, it's in West Virginia now. Game consoles that no longer work and everything. But I think we've got a good rundown of some of the leading headlines, and let's cue up the slides.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Let's start.
And this will be the technology news
Yeah,
for October.
This is the start.
So you mentioned Facebook.
Facebook hacked again. Jeez.
Do
This
they
is
know who
twice now,
hacked
right?
it?
This yeah.
Do
Do
they
they know who hacked it? I think they
And how
probably
know
do.
How do
but
they know it got hacked?
Well, here's the deal.
Yeah.
Facebook released that they had so many accounts exposed. That's part of the law.
Yep.
You are required to let people know when their credentials have been breached.
Yep.
But do they tell you as an individual that, hey, it's you?
I think they got around
Yeah.
contacting me specific or contacting the users. They did a kind of a blanket. If you can't get into your account or now you have to reset your password, you may have been one of the people that are exposed.
Yep.
But this one was kind of because in Facebook, you have your account. And if you want to see what your profile looks like, you can go and say, I want to see it as if I was somebody from the outside.
Yes.
And what happened is some people that look for weaknesses in IT systems said, if we combine this weakness and that weakness and something else, 3 little mini hacks,
Yep.
then they could actually use that view as feature to become that other person. That instead of just viewing it
Interesting.
as another person, they actually had those credentials. And so, ta-da, that's
Yeah.
a breach.
Yeah.
And that view as thing, I haven't tried it yet, but if I can see using it. That's where you can look at your own profile to see what it looks like to somebody else
Somebody
who
else.
may not be a friend,
Right.
and see what you're actually sharing with the whole world. So I think it would be a real good thing to do.
Yep.
But let's look at the next slide and then the next one. Because I think, you know, my biggest concern is that if you have 50 million accounts that get exposed,
Yep.
and you know now you've lost control of that account.
Yeah.
But when you go to these other social networking sites, they ask you if you want to log in with your Google account. Do you want to log in with your Twitter account? Do you want to log in with LinkedIn accounts?
Yeah.
This is called credential creep. And what happens is if you've lost control of one account, now you've lost control of the other accounts
lost
as
all of
well.
them. Yeah.
And in this case, you know, what we're seeing are people that no longer have their identity and they've got their accounts now needing to be, you know, recaptured. So what happens is when you sign up with these accounts, you try to have a second or third email account so that
Right.
you can go reset your password and go through all that. And you know, that's the way it is now. 2-factor authentication, and you have to have a rescue account.
Right. I don't particularly like this creep, as you say. I just as soon log in with my email address and let me pick my password.
Okay.
Because I tend to use a password manager that is offline, so it's not in the cloud. I have a database of my own that I keep,
And
then
that's
it,
like a piece of paper next to the
yeah,
screen,
it's
right?
well, it's a little sticky note pad. Yeah, that I stick on the
Three-ring
monitor. Yep.
Well, I use one that's on my phone. It's on my tablet.
Yep.
And it backs up to my account. So
Right.
if I lose it or they get broken, I can still pull that database back out.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's the way with mine. I can use it on a phone or anything like that, but it's not kept in the cloud like an application. So,
So
you know,
that couldn't
there's
get hacked,
right. If
and
that
then
one gets
somebody
hacked, it
gets
gets.
Oh, speaking of clouds, let's
yeah.
pull up that next slide. And
Okay.
This is kind of creepy. We have
Yes.
certain types of magazines that cover technology, and in this case, this story went around. That's a tiny little microchip that's smaller than a grain of rice, and it shows it
amazing.
compared to a penny.
Yeah.
And this is used in a data center type of situation. That is a server that fits into a rack. And if you take away all the surface components and you get right down to the fiberglass board
Yep.
that is used as a substrate, that's inside the circle, a tiny little view of this.
Right, you
Isn't
take the
that amazing?
components off the top one, what you're left with is the bottom one, and then there's a little teeny dot in that little white circle.
So where are these things made?
China.
China. And the story goes on page after page, but this is a company called Supermicro out of California that has contracts with manufacturers that put these things together, and when they're real busy they can have a subcontractor, and this is where the alleged imposed hardware hack occurred. Now they say we supply boards for Google, for Apple we supply them for Amazon AWS, that's Amazon Web Services. So technically, if this hardware got into the data center, they could go and interrupt the boot up sequence, insert more software code onto the servers that we all trust and use for everyday business,
Every day.
and they now own our cloud data sites.
Well, you know,
They
imagine.
own or can manipulate.
Both,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Imagine, you know, you're a country who wants to get a leg up on another country.
Yeah.
And I'm making all your communications and technology equipment. That would be so easy just to like insert something
Yep.
that will communicate back to me as the, you know, the other country.
So if the
have a
story's true, this is really scary. If it's not true, why did a leading news source come out with it? And it just leaves this big gap in the question of, you know, how much do we trust technology news? And
Yeah.
if it is that serious, should they really be talking about this until they discover it and figure it all out?
Yeah, who's to say that it's not already out there, say, like in this phone?
Right, exactly.
You know,
that's where all this
uh,
stuff is made.
You know, that little grain of rice could be in things, it could have been in things for years, right?
So let's show the slide of the data center.
Or even on
You know,
Hillary's server.
you haven't seen the big rows of servers,
Right.
row after row, rack after rack, but these network servers are on cards, and there's hundreds of these. How do you go through a data center to see if there's something actually implanted between the layers of fiberglass on that board? I think they've got a serious issue on their hands.
I think that's going to be very costly.
Jeff Bezos just signed or just agreed that he would host a government contract.
Yeah.
And that is after Google and some of the other companies decided that they were not going to host government activity.
Really?
Amazon Web Services hosts a lot of government stuff.
Tons of stuff, tons.
But, you know,
Yeah. Let alone every educational research stuff that we're doing now.
Yeah.
It's in the universities, in private sector, and everything now. They will be glad to take over your servers. Do we want? You know,
do
we
those
want to do
people
that?
have the same security clearances that the FBI, CIA, and NSA have? you know, because they are handling stuff.
Amazon by themselves
Yeah.
meets and exceeds every published security standard.
Yeah.
As a platform, as a cloud hosting service, they do their work very, 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 very well. But this is international espionage.
Yeah.
This is a little bit deeper. It's outside of the published security standards.
Right.
Yeah, technology can be okay, but there's still people.
Yeah.
I guess you could say that.
Let's see what's up next
What's
on
next?
the slides. Oh, speaking of international crimes and everything, this is
Yeah.
a national security briefing. You know, we've got so darn many branches of government and everything that it wasn't just our United States, but this is in Brussels with the European Union. The guys in the slide up on
Yeah,
back
who is that?
are the Russian people that got, you know, convicted
Yeah.
for being in charge of so much of the hacking.
Yeah.
And again, we're not talking about elections here in the country. We're talking about, is it Baby Bear? Is that
I
the
think
name of
so.
it?
I think you're right.
This group of people, which are government sponsored, have been going in and meddling with IT systems in almost every country around the world. So we have one group of people over in the Pacific Rim. We have another group of people over Far Eastern Europe.
Towards
Really hard to say, you know, who we should trust.
True.
And
Sure.
we wouldn't do anything like that.
No, but you also have to play, you know, well, if somebody's doing it here, there's going to be probably, it's going to be vice versa in some
Yeah.
degree.
They haven't put us up
So-
on the slideshow yet
No.
in
Yeah.
Brussels and
Yeah,
everything
we're,
yet.
we're not in that black and white picture.
Because they're on
so-
our side.
But
Yeah.
that's pretty scary.
Yep.
So I don't know if
And,
there's
and,
any,
you,
any
and you
good
got to have
news,
the
but-
people to defend it too. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have the white hats out there. So.
You know, and here at Tech Talk, we're talking about not only the hardware stuff that happens, but things that happen in software systems when there are vulnerabilities.
Yes.
And we try not to get into the real technical reasons why or how things happen, but this stuff has a lot of moving parts. It's really, really complicated. That's why the brightest minds in our generations right now are the ones working on this, and they still can't get it right.
You can't figure it out yet.
They
Well,
can't
it's
figure it
just trying to stay one step ahead of, you know.
Of someone else. Yeah.
Right.
In a nuts. In
You make
a
one
sense.
one thing, and they've gone around that already.
out. But
Yep. Absolutely.
let's see what
So-
else we have.
Yeah.
So, Mike, this is in
Yeah.
your area, and I guess we both have Apple devices, but we don't rush out every time there's a brand new one. And Apple released the latest series of all of their phones, and this one is a whopper. It's a huge phone with a big screen.
I do have it.
That's it?
You do have
This is
new
the
one.
10
That's
S
just-
Max.
10S Max.
This is it.
Okay. How's your battery life?
About like my other one,
About like the other one?
which was a 7 Plus.
After
The
5
big one.
years?
Yeah, I had it
Yeah,
for
it's-
3, I think.
The day they released it, they said, whoops, we noticed these are really running down their battery very quickly. That's a lot of screen, a lot of brightness that has to be maintained.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to fix it. And you asked a question earlier about what screen types they were.
Yeah, this is an OLED, and the older ones were LEDs. And I just wondered if one uses up more energy than the other one does.
So an
I don't know.
OLED and an LED.
Right. So there are different type of screen technologies. So I'm not sure.
Maybe we're seeing that OLED is not the greatest. Or maybe there needs
it's
to be
got a
some
good-
adjustment, tweaking to it.
It's
to
got a
make that
good
happen.
good picture. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks better than my eyes can look at it.
Oh, well.
And we have another Apple slide coming up here. Okay. Public safety, you know, our police and emergency people have been told that if they
And like whenever I went from the 7 Plus to this one, the 7 Plus had the fingerprint recognition, and this is face recognition.
so you
can't-
hold it up to your face.
Right, and it
and
works
it
very well.
Logs in.
can I look at it? Can Dwayne look
Okay.
at it?
Does it? Yeah.
I mean, it
He
unlocks.
has to lock it first.
There.
So if here you go, Kingsley. So if
We'll
someone
look at it. Use up one of his facial recognitions.
okay,
No.
so
Now-
I seen it go like this. It shook.
I'll look up one of his facial recognitions.
So how many times does it take before the phone's locked out?
And,
Bingo.
Yeah.
And can I
And that's so if
And can I see who it is that tried to look at my phone?
Oh, that's a good question.
It ought to record that.
You would think it might.
If you were doing a carpool and the kids
Like on
got your
Find
phone and
My
everybody
iPhone.
in the back of your car is looking at your
Yeah.
phone, you could get locked out.
Yeah.
So they're telling public safety people, if you confiscate a phone, do not start looking at it, because before it actually gets checked to see if it can be accessed, don't use up all of the facial
So I
recognition.
guess what you'd want to do is take a piece of tape and over the camera,
Yeah,
and
just
then you
grab
could
it.
try and just do the number,
well,
passcode.
before you lose it, put a piece of tape over it.
Yeah. Then I can't get in.
Then you couldn't get it. Yeah. So.
But who saw that one coming? I did.
You
No.
don't. You don't think about these things like that, do you? That is interesting, but you know, if you confiscate a phone and it's in some, theft or something,
Well-
it gets left behind.
Let's pick on somebody else.
Okay.
From
okay.
Apple, let's go to Adobe.
Oh yes, I love this. company.
Adobe Flash, and
Yeah.
today Mike said, I thought we had gotten rid of that.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I thought HTML5 was the new thing.
Adobe Flash
there.
is still used in a lot of web.
Web.
pages, and in education it is used heavily in the
Because that's
instructional
what the
software.
deal was with Apple. They were not going to support Flash because it's an energy hog.
And Steve Jobs was right
Yeah.
not to put it on iPods and
Yeah.
iPhones. But it is used today. If you go to a site, you have to specifically say, I want to enable Flash, and you have to install it for that browser
Yep.
or the Microsoft Edge browser.
Yep.
But this hack was even special. Adobe sends out all their updates. Somebody got a hold of the update and repackaged it to include a bit mining software, malware.
Nice.
So when you
Nice.
go to get your download,
Yeah.
it downloads it and it updates Flash for you. And a surprise, your computer now becomes a bot, and it is now being used for somebody's data mining Bitcoin network, and your CPU usage goes up, and your machine is partially owned by somebody else.
So how does one
Sort of like a LimeWire type of a deal.
sort of
Yeah, I mean, but-
kind of a share. Yeah.
But isn't that great? I mean, it's like any time else, when somebody puts software into a packaged, distribution, and you're getting a little bit more than what you wanted before.
Now, before you got that anyway, especially if you didn't uncheck. Yes, and also install this application.
Well, they don't give you a choice.
Right. On this, it comes with it.
Yeah.
So why or is malware software now preventing or catching it yet, or do we even know that?
I don't know, but I mean, I suppose because somebody discovered it, now it will be in malware signatures. And so if you run a malware scanner, such as Windows Defender, Malwarebytes, it will be on the lookout for that.
So basically, what we're saying is, if all of a sudden you're not doing anything to your machine, you're not doing any processing whatsoever, and you see that your CPU is just running 100% or something, or 75 maybe, chances are there's something else wrong.
There could be
and you
something
could
wrong,
be
and you should look at
infected.
your processes that are running,
Yep.
see if you can account for them all, and see if there's a process that's running that you can't identify, because that may be doing something under a cloak of
Of another-
secrecy. Yeah.
When you turn that off, can you turn it off for good? It's like, don't ever do that.
You would have to uninstall it,
Yeah.
find out where in the
Okay.
registries or the settings it is being told to load on startup.
And it could be buried. You could never find it in some sense. And in our world, what I would do is probably just wipe it and clone the machine back to, an image that we have,
Right.
and that would eliminate it, right?
The
King?
only true clean is to start over.
Over.
Yeah.
So, but in the private world, that might be a little different.
In business and
Yeah.
industry, if you find that you've had a machine that's been infiltrated,
Yeah.
standard practice is wipe it and start over again. How about 14? We'll skip
Next
one
slide.
here.
Oh, we're going to skip one.
Okay,
We're
I
already
think this
running.
is sort of a cartoon drawing right here.
Uh-huh.
Cough, cough, sneeze. Would you like a recipe for chicken soup?
Yeah.
We played, Jeopardy.
So
Tech Talk
Alexa's
Jeopardy
turned
the other
into
day.
your mom.
Alexis
Yeah,
now has the
turning into the
capability
doctor.
to determine from the background noise and the conversation and the sniffs and the snorts whether or not it can determine you have a cold.
Yeah. I heard they just did some, or on the news they were talking about doing a patent for becoming a
The AI
doctor.
stuff.
Yeah.
So where does this conversation lead us? Gee, this is really neat.
This, to me, leads us down a very scary path.
Right,
All right.
because what if I'm?
I think so.
What if I'm in an argument? You know, I'm gonna kick your rear end.
It could
And
it
then
could
it-
instantly call 911.
Yeah, I've fallen and I can't get up.
It could.
You know, call 911.
Well, you went from bad to good here. Oh, I
Yeah.
guess they're both good.
Yeah, but I mean,
You know.
Alexa,
But-
I've fallen and I
yeah.
can't get up.
Yeah.
Or you don't even have to get her attention now.
no, you don't have to
Sniff and
because
snort.
now they're officially saying that they're listening. Is this
Yeah?
what we're saying?
Listening all the time.
All
and
the time.
Recording stuff and
Not
looking
only
for
there,
key
but
words and
Alexa is
phrases.
also on here, an app on the here.
Yep.
So all the time, anywhere that you have
I've
the device.
unplugged mine as I don't have it anymore.
Artificial intelligence, to me, is something neat.
I agree.
You and I love Internet
Yep,
of Things, so
yep,
we have
yep.
it hooked up to our lights. And I keep telling my wife, I said, if something ever happens, all you have to do is say, hey, Google, turn on all lights.
Yeah.
And every light on our property is going to
Comes
go on.
Yeah. Yep. And that's good. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't want somebody to a device like that yet to be my doctor or be my accountant or whatever you want it to be.
We can't pay our bills. Well, why don't you go rob the bank? And it's like,
Huh?
rob the bank? Who said that?
Yeah.
Transfer
Could-
money from savings to checking.
Yeah. And it not.
Multiple
How
voice,
does
multiple
it-
voice
yeah.
recognition.
Yeah.
How does it know which
Which-
one is the joke?
Send me one of every
Yeah.
dollhouse, Daddy. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, we're talking about buying a car or something, and all of a sudden, cars now are being delivered. You buy it on your smart app, and all of a sudden a car shows up.
Yeah. Why?
Whoa! I didn't order no car.
Okay.
Well, Alexa did.
Let's pick on Google.
Okay,
Is it time to pick on Google?
Google.
Does anybody remember what
Google
Google
Plus.
Plus is?
Yeah,
I mean,
it was
yeah,
their
that was a while
their
ago.
stab at Facebook.
500,000 accounts. It was their social networking.
It was.
As if anybody
Well, it's
cared.
still there.
No, it's closed out now.
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah.
Here's what happened. With these social networking sites and with anything they do, they develop these program interfaces where they're supposed to do this and they're supposed to do that, and they'll share your information. And in the Facebook instance,
Yep.
some things went wrong. Something went wrong with Google Plus. And they found out that there was a possibility that information from the users could possibly be transferred to some of the companies that were using these APIs to mine data.
Yep.
So what do? They just get rid of the whole service.
Just get rid of it.
Just get rid of it.
Yeah. And they've done that to a lot of things that they would try and then just disappears.
Do you remember when this happened? You're a Google user.
I am a Google user, yeah.
Did you get a notification?
Nope.
Oh, Google
I
Glass.
never got one that I'm aware of.
Okay.
So
I mean, I saw
Google
today.
Glass, yeah, that's a little different, but yeah.
Yeah.
Right, that's a hardware thing.
Yeah, but yeah, it just kind of fades away, and now there's alternatives to that now. So
I noticed today it was announced that can't remember how many million, $200 million was a fine that they levied against somebody who had a data breach a couple years ago. It takes them that long to process through the courts what your liability is,
yeah,
and that's scary.
It
Now
is.
16, talk about scary. I am so tired of cats on
yeah.
the internet. And this is an Instagram filter.
yeah.
Or Snapchat or Instagram.
I think this one was Instagram. Snapchat does it too.
Yeah, Snapchat's
You know,
got
little
a lot of different things.
little noses and stuff like that. This is why I don't do these social networking things.
Yeah.
But wasn't that joyous?
it was thrilling.
Thrilling.
Yeah. Yes. Next.
So
slide.
talk about thrilling. How would you like to do your Microsoft Windows upgrade? And this would be one of the things that
hate that.
Microsoft does in the fall and in the spring.
Yeah.
They do feature upgrades. And so on slide 17,
Yep.
what we have is something that popped up for these users that did what they called a folder redirection.
Yes.
You can have a computer with a drive, and then you can add extra storage, and you can say, wow, I'm really running low of my main storage. I want to redirect all those files to this other location.
Yeah.
Or I want to redirect them up to the cloud. And what happened, and we can see it in the next slide, what happened is you have your hard drive and you have your My Documents folder. All of a sudden, Microsoft's update said, let's clean out those old folders that are no longer being used. And they made a mistake and they picked the wrong ones. So for people that did a folder redirect, it said, oh, you don't have any files over here. It synchronized with their other storage and deleted them over there too. So the Windows update, whoops, we just deleted all your files.
And they pulled that real quick.
They pulled it very, very
I mean,
quick.
it was not out there in no time.
How many Windows users are there?
Billions.
So 1/10 of 1%,
Yeah.
or 1/100th of 1%.
Got it.
Still is 70,000 very unhappy people.
Yeah.
Like that. And you
Absolutely.
just can't make up this stuff, and it saddens me that these sort of things happen because, I don't know, it's...
I just gotta say, back up your stuff. You know,
Well,
what I
yeah.
have is an external hard drive. I plug it in. I drag everything I think is important,
Yeah.
documents
unplug.
and everything, and then unplug it. So it can't touch it.
But you know the problem with that, and I used to, I preach that all the time, and I still do, but people don't do that.
Right. Sure.
There's people that will, but the majority of people will do that one time, and they'll set it off to the side, won't they, Kingsley? And they'll go, oh, you know, I should be backing this up. I'm going to do that tonight, and it doesn't happen, and I do it again. Yeah, exactly. People will do it religiously, and some will go, you know, I'll do that next week.
Or they
And
get
that next
religious.
week never gets here.
Or they get religious after it happens, like, oh God, where's all my stuff?
Oh yeah, please bring it back.
So cloud backup sounds like a good idea as long as you have access to the internet.
Yep.
And as long as your cloud hosting provider doesn't have one of those, you know, rice-sized grains of
on their-
you know,
on their-
malicious
on their
hardware.
I always
And-
like to have possession of my stuff. I like to have it.
I don't disagree with you, but at some point in time, we have a ton of stuff, and we're either going to have to buy extra drives. What if that drive goes bad?
Let's talk about how cheap drives are for Christmas gifts.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
true.
Nothing says I love you like here's a
Here's
side
an extra
drive.
one, yeah. And that'll be next month. We'll be
Okay,
talking about
one
that.
more slide. One more
more.
slide. This is Cyber Awareness Month, October. So back up your stuff, practice safe computing, and be careful out there.
Will do. Until next time, I guess,
Yep.
we will have a slew of gifts for you to start picking from.
Shop now.
Yep. Take care.